All right. So anyway, we're divided into that's like 5 of my 15 minutes gone, but we are now working with DFO on decision making for fishing around marine protected area boundaries. We're working with the International Seabed Authority on seabed mining environmental thresholds, the sort of thresholds they need to stay under. And we've got another activity now that's investigating tidal power in BC, and that's with another program, but it'll be partially under this program as far as guidelines and things go. I'll just first discuss the disposal at sea stuff. Basically, where there's development along the coastlines, there's a need for dredging and disposal, and we would identify to the companies, oh, you have to provide us this and that site information about the sites, and then this would go into debate for back and forth on how exactly they're going to do that. So we've developed the guidelines on how they're going to do that. And in doing that, we realized that the official Environment Canada disposal at sea sites didn't actually have the scientific basis that we were requesting from other companies. And so the idea is, I mean, we can use big oceanographic ships and things, and we used all this equipment here and deploy moorings with train wheels and thousands of kilograms of stuff. But we have to be able to provide to a company who can do something on a much smaller vessel an alternative that's nearly as good for measuring these things. And so the idea here is, instead of deploying all this stuff, you deploy the little instrument that we have stuck inside this tube. We do one disposal site each year, and the report that we did for this year was the Cape Mudge disposal site in BC. And what we're looking for is whether currents are strong enough to resuspend sediment or not. And so we've sort of made a definition of a number of 25 centimeters per second. If it's over that, it'll resuspend sediment. And in fact, you can see here that every time the current is over 25 centimeters per second, we get peaks in kind of sediment concentrations in the water column. So that seems to pretty much work, that definition. In this case, if it's over 25 centimeters per second for 99% of the time, we call that site dispersive. And that's what we have. It doesn't show, but so that site is determined to be dispersive, and they can only dispose of certain types of material there. This year, we're moving to across the nation, actually, to Quebec. In this area here, there's a disposal site that used to be piling up, and for some reason, in the last few years, the sediment dynamics have changed there, and now this whatever they put there seems to disappear. And they're curious about that, but they also want to define these current thresholds and that sort of thing. Now, this year we are doing it from a small boat, so we have to completely redesign our experiments to be able to almost hand deploy stuff. And so that's what we're planning for June. And the reports go to the international, as well as local reports to Environment Canada, which they disseminate to First Nations and communities. The reports also go to the International Maritime Organization, and it's part of our responsibility to report to this organization in London each year. And so these results go straight into that report. I've put a kind of an exciting thing here on trolling. One of the activities that DFO want us to do is to determine how plumes of sediment from trolling affect marine protected areas. And they've asked us if we could actually put cameras on trolls and stuff. And I said we can't. We don't have the, I don't have the, we have the capabilities, but just not the time. But just in the last month or so, this was released, and I want to show this for a minute.
From the surface, you would have no idea that this is happening. It has remained hidden from view until now. A modern industrial bottom trawler scours the ocean floor with a chain or metal beam, forcing anything it disturbs into the net behind. It smashes its way across the seabed, destroying nearly everything in its path, often on the hunt for just a single species.
Okay, I'll leave it there. I hope that showed. Shoot. Okay. Did that work out?
It sure did. That was
Sure did.
incredible.
Okay, so that shows you just how much sediment flumes are being suspended in the environment. We have another program which is looking specifically to help DFO with defining marine protected areas, and there's this special kind of sponge reef that our other program that Cooper Stacy has been providing them with where we think the sponge reefs are. And so now we have to help DFO set the sediment kind of the boundaries for fishing around those. And so we've designed moorings for that. Back in 2014, I participated in a science advisory secretariat release, and this is DFO's way of getting kind of the science advice out to industry. And but we provided sediment plumes and transport just based on kind of calculations and not on real data. So now we're actually collecting real data for this. And then the third thing I wanted to show was the work we're doing with the International Seabed Authority on seabed mining. Of course, that's an up and coming activity for the world, probably. And it's probably, well, some countries will approve it for sure. Others are still holding off. And of course, they also produce a lot of sediment plumes at the bottom and mid-water column where they're trying to discharge the sediment. Also at the surface where they're dealing with the minerals and there'll be a lot of sediment discharge there. So they've asked, so I'm participating in this international group of experts to try to design guidelines and measurement techniques before licenses are given. And we actually submitted our first report just a couple of months ago, our draft report on developing environmental threshold values. So, and then here's just another video of that and the plumes that it creates at these basically untouched areas of the seabed. And that's the program. That's pretty much the activity that I'm involved with here.